Hi everybody, Giselle Grenier here from ArtPlace.ca. I have to apologize up front for the air conditioner. It's on the fan setting right now. It's extremely hot. We're at about 38 degrees Celsius with extreme humidity, so the only way I can do the video is put the AC on. So for the actual artwork that we're going to be creating, I want to say that although I'm creating this in an actual visual journal, everything that I'm teaching you can do in a journal or actually on a piece of masonite or canvas. I got an email from a lady, and she said, I really would love to take your course, but I'm not an art journaler. Do you think I might be able to do them on canvas? Of course you can. You sure can. You don't have to do these in a journal. I've got many pages that I started out as a journal page. I ended up putting them in a frame as a piece of artwork on the wall. You don't have to do these in a journal. One thing to keep in mind though, when you do them in a journal, if these were actual canvases, you see the amount of canvases you'd have to have. Remember, these are double-sided, so you get double the bang here. But it's great when you're learning to do everything in a journal, because you can keep everything in one place and you can make notes. Everything I'm going to be using will be listed at the end of the video. You should all know that by now if you're at this point. For this particular one, I'm going to basically go for the bad, is what to do with a background that you absolutely can't stand. And I did find a couple that I'm looking at them and saying, I will never, ever, ever do anything with these. I don't care how much embellishment that I can do or how much writing, I just don't like them. It's the colors. And if you've been with me for a while, you probably know which one that I'm going for. It's all about the color, and I knew right up front. This one I can probably get around. This one I can't. This is not working for me. So I'm going to work with this one. This one is just not working for me, and it's the neon. Now, even with the colors, this is a bit vibrant for me, so I will end up knocking this down. This I can handle. It's the neon colors that is not me. Now, if you do have a background that you're not thrilled with, this would be the perfect opportunity to work with this. Now, because we're working on these now, when we run the risk of putting stuff on the back, if you have a concern about what's on the back, put some masking tape on the outside edge. Okay, me it doesn't really matter, but let's follow protocol. And you can get masking tape. This is actually a little bit more narrow than I would like, but you can get masking tape that's actually really, really wide. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to make sure that you remove the masking tape after you finish using it, because this stuff here becomes permanent after a certain length of time. Now myself, I wouldn't care, but I'm just going to show you. Okay, and you don't need to trim these off. I'm just doing it because it'll be very distracting during the video. Now, if you're just joining us now and you haven't had time to do the book of backgrounds portion, you can go refer back to the video for this, or basically just create any background you want, because everything we're doing at this point is going to be the creating of the actual artwork. Okay, so there we go. So that'll protect somewhat. I've got a little bit of a gap here. I don't care. Okay, and if you're going to be keeping this in a journal, also make sure that you have the pages facing the right way. Are you going to be doing it as a spread this way or as a spread this way? So I'm going to keep mine like this. And for supplies, so I brought out some supplies of an idea that I have. Now we're really going forward with this. There's no more easy peasy stuff, so this is going to take some work, but this is where you can really express yourself. And for all of these, there is no wrong way, other than what I call a chemical mistake, meaning you try to blend two mediums together that really don't blend well. or you try to use a stamp pad and it's wet and you go into your stamp pad and this stuff doesn't stick. That's what I call a chemical mistake. Stuff that's just not your fault per se, but it's not compatible. There really is no mistake. If you don't know how to draw people, who cares? I'm going to show you a really easy way to draw a face, which actually is very hard for me when it comes to doing stuff not realistic, because as a portraiture artist, I've been formally trained to be realistic. So it's very hard for me to make a face that's not realistic. So I will try very hard not to go into the left brain mode of, perfect circle into thirds and all that stuff. But the face is just a very, very small portion. So what I've got here is I've got the Tim Holtz ideology. This is a tissue wrap, is Melange. One of the best inventions, but you've seen in the other video where I show you can make this yourself. Okay, you don't have to use this, you can make it yourself. I'm using this because it saves time. Let's see, for color, I've got Decor Traditions, Permanent Alizarin Crimson, and Prussian Blue Hue. If you don't have Prussian Blue Hue, I will show you how to make it with Phthalo Blue and Carbon Black. Brush bucket, some brushes, we're going to have a glare now. I've got a mop brush, I've got a long bristle brush, when I say bristle, long-haired brush, short-haired brush, and a round brush. I may need something else, I don't know, but I'll pull it if I need it. A missing bottle, decoupage, sorry, I keep pronouncing that wrong. And bring this out for a second. And now don't get overwhelmed with this. We're not going to need all of this. This is going to be for the demonstration of the face. I'm going to be using, and you don't have to have these, but I just want to go over. With the sketching set, this is the Prismacolor sketching set. You've got charcoal, you've got sepia sanguine and white charcoal, you've got charcoal, okay? If you're going to be using charcoal and you don't want to have it disturbed, then you want to fix it with something like Spectrafix or whatever fixative you want. I use Spectrafix because I can use it indoors. Okay, these are great, but they are very, very dusty. So these are great for sketching. We are going to be using these for when we do what I call daily sketches as part of one of the other projects. What is also great to use is just get basically sketching pencils, and if you've taken my drawing classes, you know what pencils I have between a 4H, 2H, HB, 2B, 4B, usually a 6 or 7B, and then a jet black, blending stumps, all that stuff. So that stuff you should already have in place. What I am going to do though is I'm going to be using watercolor pencils to basically get the sketch going, and then if I find that the watercolor pencil doesn't stick enough to the paper, then I will go over to acrylic paint. So this is where I have no idea. I've never done this before, so I am going to talk through the process. So this will be not a 30-minute video. I will talk through the process. So if you're just learning, please watch the whole thing, then basically take what I've shown you in technique and then apply it to something you want to do. But if you are more experienced, just fast forward through the project. I've got you probably can't see this, I've got a transparent grid with an awful glare. And this is the transparent grid that's part of the grid system that Joe and I developed, the Art by Nature grid system. And so I've just got the sheet, and it's got the pre-measured grids, and I also have this gridded ruler, because if you don't have this, you can pretty well get away with it with just doing something like this. If you don't have this, you can do it with a regular ruler, but it just makes it easier when you have something that's got a grid on it. And you can get an acrylic ruler and then draw it, but after the time it takes, you'd be better off just buying something. First thing I'm going to do, I can't stand this. I just so why not try something that's kind of makes me uncomfortable? I'm going to cover it with the tissue paper. This stuff is great. Even if, now, again, you don't have to have this, you can buy it. Oh, and it stays on, this is the black, with the butterfly, this is my signature butterfly, and then I have another G that I stamp over journal pages that I make. I have a signature stamp type of thing, but this is the butterfly, and I'll show you what we're going to be doing. So I'm just going to align this like so. Where are we here? And I'm just going to make a mark just in case it gets out of whack. I wonder if I could tear this. I don't know. I can if I use this. Yeah, that worked. And you know, this paper is not cheap, so any little bits that you have left over, hang on to them. These little bits here, these make great collage fodder, so just hang on to it. Alright. So we're going to cover this. I will for now just leave this binding on, but I can only go to the edge. And this paper is really great because you can, you know, turn it around and do whatever you want with it. And the actual wording on this one is travel. Okay, so I'm going to get my decoupage. But see how it just really tones everything down? Okay, let's put that on there. This one needs just a little bit of water, not too much. The more water you get on there, you weaken the strength of the glue. But it doesn't need to be this thick. And I had somebody else email me saying, why don't you just dilute the decoupage right in the bottle, like right away? No, I don't do that because there are times where I do need it to be very thick. So I'd rather just dilute it as I go. If you start off with a medium that's too thin right to start, then that's not good. But if you have something that's too thick, then you can always thin it down. And I'm going left, right, up, down to make sure that this goes into all the little nooks and crannies. Brush immediately in water. All right. This is where I'll let it tack up for a sec. I'm going to roll it backwards, that way I can just put it down this way. This is just so you can see. You can do this any way you want. I just want you to be able to see. I'm going to go right to the edge here, and it gives me time to move the paper. And as I go up, I'm noticing I'm getting a little too far ahead, so I'm going to pull this over a bit. Reline this back up. The added water helps. There we go. Perfect. Oh, we need to go a little bit higher. No, I don't think I can go any higher than that. There we go. There's a little bit of a crinkle there. Let's straighten that out a bit. I want this nice and tight. One advantage with this paper, first of all, well, it's already pre-printed, but it is strong. But see how it just really tones that down? Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to, oops, I got in the way there. With a credit card or my driver's license, I actually was using my things, and then somebody said, you know, we actually captured your address, your driver's license number on camera. I went, okay, I'm not going to use that anymore because I don't know who's watching this. So Going to use the texture tool on the flat side. From the middle, go outwards. And this is going to get rid of any air pockets. We'll burnish the paper to the surface. Now here it's a little bit loosey-goosey, so I can take my brush. I didn't rinse it, I didn't like flip-flop it, so I'll just get a little bit of wet medium in there and go back. It'll just hold it down because we're going to put something on top of this too. And while this dries, I'm going to quickly go over the drawing portion. There we go. And then I'll just take this and just wrap it around for now. I don't want to cut it off until it's 100% dry. This will also just make an extra seal. Like so. Okay. Alright, so that takes care of that. If you now we're going to let this dry. Now, if you find that this starts to get a little bit of bubbles, then we can apply another thin layer of this on after that. We want to limit the amount of this that we put on now because we're going to be doing our drawing. And you want this to be wet because if we come in with the watercolor pencils and it's wet, then the watercolor pencils will all smear around. So I'm just going to make a little bit of room now, and I'll get out my sketchbook and I'll just show you the basics of drawing an imperfect face. Joe brought me a coffee from Tim's. Yay! Okay, so I've got my sketchbook here. This is my one sketchbook which I use for on camera because I do a lot of demos there. So I work a lot with individual elements. I do a lot of swatches as I'm working through pieces for classes and demos. Then this is where I get into funny at doing drawing with my non-dominant hand, drawing to show emotion. These are quite imperfect. And then this is where I start showing the actual measurements of stuff, showing, values and blah, 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 blah. Go on, go on, go on, go on. My penguin. So as you can see, there's a lot of different types of stuff happening in here, and it's all about play. Like, who cares? And this is what I'm looking at for the actual shape of the face that we're going to be doing, but I want to make the eyes just a little bit bigger. And then this basically the idea for a skeleton, and this is going to extreme. This is for another tutorial that I did. Then when we're doing the fairies, drawing fairies, drawing fairies, drawing fairies, drawing fairies, drawing fairies, drawing eyes. This is Tinkerbell with my left hand. This is for Fairies Can Dream journal page we did for Dark Side of Vintage, and then I started doing some more experimentation in here. So when we look at this, you can think of, this isn't hard. You can copy these elements. You can copy this if you want. Okay, then you basically just draw a circle around it and there we go. So there are some little structures that we can put towards for a face. So I'm going to, first let me show you. Now if you already know how to draw, then just fast forward through this, but I feel that this is very important for people who say, oh, I can't draw. When you're drawing, I don't care what it is, with pencil, with graphite, with watercolor, with color pencil, it doesn't matter. When you're drawing, your brain goes into a certain mode. Logical mode, artistic mode. When we go like this, we automatically, it's more of a sketching thing, but the minute you go into this, it's writing, it's logical, and detail. If you want to really get into practicing like some really loose flowing stuff, is you grab some charcoal and you just randomly just start putting out some shapes. So just get something. You see, this is really not anything in particular. I'm not using a template. You'd be better off doing this though when it's quiet and you don't have somebody talking. Okay, refine, blend a little bit to erase. So you see, doesn't take much. but it's just gets you, it gets you sketching. There. A totally imperfect eye because it was sketched really, really fast. Okay? Same thing with the mouth. Well, the mouth, think of it, it's like two little mountains. Okay? Then a valley. Okay? Then here, it's up and around, and just like so. Imperfect mouth. Then you can basically touch it up a bit. Keep your hand moving. Then get some little bit of shadow going on here. Okay, keep it moving. A nose. Get out of my way. A nose, same thing. Think of basically two lines going down like so, and then a little nubby, round and round. There's a nose. Okay? Teaching is telling me that you've got the nostrils here, you've got shadow, and you've got shadow here, and you've got the little moundy stuff above the lip, and then you've got the mouth. Okay, but you can see how fast this was. Just keep your hand moving. And with charcoal, you're not put into the position where it has to be perfect, because you will never get perfection out of charcoal, because it's big. The shape is always changing, but let that happen. Okay, just let it happen, let it be, let it go. As you start getting a little bit, with a little bit more practice, and then you can start shading. And this is the great thing with the charcoal, is that you can erase. And this I do use my finger for this part. It's great for shading. In the I recently taught, it was a private class, I recently taught a drawing on the right side of the brain, but on where we cover the whole piece with charcoal, and then we use our finger and an eraser to erase out the dark to create our drawing. It was actually quite cool. It was a lot of fun to do that. And then we build in the mouth, same technique. Okay, and then you got the little zoopy, and then we've got and in here you got a little nubby. Okay, see how that's building up? And then the eye. Now there is a formula for the eye, measurements where it comes down. The width of the eye is the distance between the two eyes. That's how the width of the eye. So you've got a width, a width, a width. So it's 5 eye widths across a face, and it goes into a lot of that detail. But this is how for sketching. When it comes to drawing, if I go into a pencil mode, and then I find now that although that my details are much more distinguished, I'm finding that I'm being a little bit more careful, because these are not as easy to erase. I can blend a bit, but I can't erase. Let's see if I can get some shadow in here. This is a sanguine. So you see I'm paying really close attention to detail. Yeah, but you can get some nice markings in here. And let's get the eye. We don't want the eye to be purely white. It doesn't really happen that way. Okay, same thing with the mouth. We can still do the little mountains, down, 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 and like so. We can still do that, but I'm finding that I'm looking now at detail. I can't erase. Okay, so with the charcoal, that's where that comes in for the erasing. Sepia is just another type of, it's just another color. It's just a different type of pencil. It's a little bit darker, it's more brown. Sepia is great when doing the sketches. It's less messy. And if you really don't like the mess of the charcoal, these are the way to go. You don't need to fix with these. Let's put fixative. With the charcoal you do, because you can still, it comes off. But I find that with the charcoal, it's so much better. You want the best of both worlds? You go with a charcoal pencil. And charcoal pencils, they can come soft, medium, and hard. And so that's the hard. You don't get a lot of blending. That's the medium. Oh, you get a little bit. Still doesn't erase though. And then you've got the soft. To get it into pencil form, it's a compressed charcoal. It depends on how compressed it is, and that's where you get the strengths of, you know, of the charcoal. And with this though, you can come back now and you can start putting in some real detail. Get your sketch in first, and then you can come in with detail. Okay, so you see you can get the best of both worlds. Where I was formerly trained was all with graphite pencil for absolute detail. And this one, these ones up here, these were all done with graphite pencil where I was doing the rough sketches. You can get shadows put in by doing some cross hatching. You don't need to use your finger to blend. And I actually tell people, when you're working with graphite pencil, do not use your finger to blend, because you're going to get the natural oils transferred onto your paper, and then you're going to end up with splotches. So don't use your finger. But just by going over and over and over again, you can build up the shadow. Graphite does take much longer, but this is where you get the true realism. So for stuff that's more free and loose, I love this. Free and loose, you go with stick charcoal. Okay, you can get them in big, you can get them in small. I've got, look at this monster one. It's huge. It's like a cigar. So for loose stuff where you can do your blending and shading, stick charcoal. If you're wanting to do stuff that's got a little bit more finer detail, go into pencil format, where you can go sepia sanguine or the charcoal, soft, medium, or hard. But if you want stuff that's in real detail, then go with a graphite pencil. That's up to you how you want to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my sketch off with a pencil, go with the watercolor pencil, see if that will actually stick onto the paper, and then if not, then I go on to paint. Very quickly, the template that we're going to follow, again, the whole thing is being a not perfect face. Being a not perfect face, does that make any sense? Being a not perfect face. I need something dark enough that you're going to be able to see. I'll just go with my jet black. What we're looking for, and in this, at this point we're doing, this is not a drawing class, so I'm not going to go over on proportions of the face, shapes of nose, mouth, and getting expression with eyes at different angles in that. This is just going to be a straight on face in its simplest form. And basically what you want to do is you're looking at drawing an upside down egg. Okay, my eggs are funny. And all these extra lines, they're fine. Don't worry about them. And this I can't erase. So this is why I use this, because I will try to find myself trying to erase. So upside down egg. Okay, then basically what you're looking at is, think of dividing your face in half. Now this is where a template would come in when you're looking at dividing your face in half, because you can actually count. But we're going to absolute extremes with using a grid, but if you're not sure about drawing, that's the way to go. You can also use a ruler, and let's see, 14 centimeters, half of that is 7. Okay, so there's the actual middle of the face. Okay, eyes are technically 5 widths around, and then there's actually in the formal instruction that when I was going to art school, is that everything is measured with the width of an eye. You know, the distance between the mouth and the nose and blah, 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 blah. For this example, okay, we're just going to basically create our egg half, half. Then with this half, just average it out, measuring that into thirds. So let's go here and here. I think I'm a little bit off here, third and third. Okay, and then this here, measure that in half. So this will just give us an idea of what we're doing, and this is basically the chin. So where this part is, this gives you the idea of where the top of the lips should be. So let's make our little triangle. Okay, and we make our little swoops, and down. Okay, this is just your template that we alter from here. Then we come up a bit, and then we have that little divvy above the lips and the nose. So this is where the actual bridge of the nose starts, where we have the curve. We have a curve, and then it comes up. Remember, template. Okay, and then this is basically be the top of the eyebrows. Here, top of the eyebrows. And then the eye. What I like to do with making the imperfect face, I like to continue the nose straight up, right into the eyebrows. Let's bring that over a little bit more. Oh, she's taking on a crooked nose. And let's just round that out a little bit. Okay, and the eye, if you want to make nice big eyes, this halfway mark here, you can make the eyes start right there. And again, you can adjust this as you go, but as a template. So this is where the eye area is going to be. And the eye area, think of it like an almond. Again, different eye shapes will do different things. So you can create an almond, nice big eyes, then just immediately draw a half circle. Okay, and then draw a black circle here. This is for the pupil. Okay, and then draw another line on top, like this, like this. Okay, and then that's basically a template. So you have positions for eyes, the position for the nose, the position for the mouth. I already know the mouth is too small. Formal teaching tells me that the corner of the eye must reach the edge of the mouth. Well, that's okay, but the height is not right. Proportions, this is way out of proportions, but this is a template for making an imperfect face. Then what you do is you follow this template, and then you can, from there, this is where you can change the shapes of what you want. Change the shape of the nose, change the shape of the mouth. And you can practice this with putting tracing paper on top, and you can try not to alter the template. So if I go with, let's say, a sanguine, and I can then say, okay, well, I can come in and I can make a nice change here, and the eyes, I can bring them down a little bit further. Okay, this is for the this is when you're actually doing the drawing, not altering your template. The one consistent thing is that the eye, the pupil, is always black. And if you have some acrylics, reserve your white acrylic for the actual, the glimmer in the eye, the gleam, which you must have. If you don't have that little glimmer in the eye, the highlight in the pupil, your eyes are blank. And then you're going to bring the line below the eye so the person doesn't look surprised. There's a shadow. Again, don't do this on your actual template, but this is where you would actually modify your drawing. And then you're going to make a nice ring around the eye. And if you're really wanting to learn about drawing more realistic faces, I do have workshops on that. And I'm at close to the end now of a realistic painting, a portraiture class called painting facial features, and that's on Interactive Artist magazine. And I will be releasing those videos as classes as well at ArtPlace.ca. Okay, so you see how as I'm modifying this, I'm pretending that I've done my drawing on my template. Eyes, never white. They're always some type of, the iris always has some type of color in it. Okay, the white of the eye. The iris, you can make it any color you want. You've got the pupil, okay? And when you're doing this, the pupil has to be the blackest black you can get, okay? The absolute blackest you can get. The iris, you can make any color you want, but there is something here. And then, like I said, from here you can just start adjusting. No, again, not on your template. You're not making any adjustments on your template because you're going to have all your lines. Okay, and then little divot, and then you've got the nostrils, which are black, and you've got the little nose here. Big eyes. Big eyes. And then the hair. Well, the hair, you really can do anything you want. The hair is the one thing that you can cover up if your forehead's too high. Adjust the face. Again, not on the template. So there's a really good start to an imperfect face. It's, you know, oh yeah, and then you've got the eyelashes. And you just build it from there. But as a template, it's a really good start. So what we're going to do is we're going to create basically the same type of face on the piece, and then we're going to paint it, but allow the actual texture of the paper show through. So now we're going to get time to doing this. Now with the face part that I showed you, there's a whole bunch of tutorials you can also find on YouTube to find the best format that works for you. That's just basically just a general template. I am going to be following something a little bit differently when I draw my face. So, you know, use whatever method you want. I did do a little bit of testing first on this with taking the watercolor pencil and making the lines, and they do show up, but not enough. The charcoal does show up quite nicely, but I already know that I'm going to have to fix this if I do something. What I can do with this now is I can apply some gesso just to basically neutralize this a little bit. It'll also make a ground that will be a little bit easier for when I do my drawing. But what you want to do with the gesso is you want to scrub it on. So I'm going to get my bristle brush, and oh, not on that. Oh my God, Giselle, wake up. On the palette. I've got my glass palette out now. I apologize for the glare. Hopefully it's not too bad there. Okay, and I'm just going to obscure a lot of what's going on. You could block in the face as well. And then just paint it. You could do that. I don't want to lose all the color, but I do want to get something a little bit easier to work with. And if you, baby wipes, you'll need that for sure. This will also bring in a little bit of an extra glue, but like really, that's too much paint that's there. You need to really work that out. This is where, don't use your expensive brushes either. These brushes really work well for me because I can abuse them. And the texture of the page is actually picking up all the nice bumps and lumps in here, because we're going to tone this too. So we don't totally lose the background, but it's much softer. And you would basically do this until you're satisfied with it. Now, if you happen to get too much, let me get a good chunk. Let's pretend we get too much. It's more of a painting than scrubbing. Okay, so you go, oh my God. Oh, actually, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, well, what you would do, I'm going to keep it like that, a baby wipe, and you can start pulling out some of the paint, or some of the gesso, and that'll bring everything back out. Okay, but I actually like that. I'm going to have to let that dry. Let me just do a little bit more here. And I'm going to pull some of that out. What this is going to do too is make it, the actual toning, really nice. Yeah, I like that. When I actually toned the paper, and of course, you know what color I'm going to tone it, right? Which was totally a decision I made just a few minutes ago. Anytime you use Tim Holtz papers, you automatically got to go vintage. Vintage and grunge. Now, I could work out the butterfly a little bit more. And the butterfly is important in this. Well, you know, I'm obsessed with butterflies. Because when I draw my girl, I'm going to be using my signature butterfly as basically a tattoo on her chest. So that's why the butterfly is important. But you can pick any symbol you want. The symbol of the butterfly for me is freedom. Although we do have our political issues in Canada. And my son's in the military, and my nephew's in the military. We are blessed to have our freedom. There, beautiful, beautiful. I'm not liking that though. Let's grunge that up a bit more. So do that to a point that you're happy with it. And I want to build up a little bit more of this at the top. Now again, if you're learning, watch, then you can go ahead and do it. You don't have to copy me. You can basically take the techniques and apply it to yourself. But if you're more advanced, just fast forward. I would prefer somebody who's just learning to actually finish the video without having too many questions than having, than just basically skipping over everything. That's not the way I do things. Okay, in water, close that off. When creating these types of things, if you're learning, doing them in the journal will save you a ton of time and money, a ton of money and space. Okay, because you can also make little, you can hole punch and tie with a ribbon a little note tag, for something you've learned. In addition, these are great for studies, and I try to tell my students, the ones that take my formal fine art classes, is that we need to do our color studies, our notes, our color swatches in a journal. A lot of them don't because they don't want to work in a journal, but I get emails from them, I lost my notes. Then I say, you know what? Then you should have kept it in a journal. I'm reading a book. And I will go, I was thinking about doing a study just on that book. It's, I won't talk about it in this video, but I am probably, which is more the spiritual thing about journaling. Not religious, but spiritual, meaning, about yourself. So, okay, we're actually not too bad with this. Depending on what color you want to glaze with, I was going to look at transparent red iron oxide, and I'm thinking, because I love transparent red iron oxide. Anytime you take red and green, you're going to get mud. But we do have a wash of white on here. So what I figured I'd do is I'd start off with transparent red iron oxide. I have to go and get it. And then if it doesn't work, then I'll go over with the alizarin crimson Prussian blue. And I want to, I will, and I do want to use both because I kind of want it where it's the lighter and then kind of fades out, and the dark will kind of frame everything. So let me just get the red. Believe it or not, the face is what takes the least amount of time. And we can use extender or glazing medium. Glazing medium will create a barrier for richness, which actually will look pretty nice. So let's use that. No, let's not. We'll use the extender. Reason being is because we're going to try to draw on this. A glazing medium makes it very, very slick. Your pencils will not stick. But if you were doing this as painting, take this, a layer of glazing medium, a glaze of paint, glazing medium, a layer of glazing medium between every single layer of paint. And even though it'll be microscopic, your painting will be, and I'm exaggerating, be very thick, allowing more light to shine through and come back. Your colors will be so rich. I'm using the extender and blending medium about half and half, and what this is going to do, not only make the paint more transparent, the extender and blending medium doesn't leave any solids behind. There are no solids left behind, so you'll be left with paint. And it's also better than water because it doesn't break down. Too much water in acrylics breaks down the strength of the paint. Binder that holds everything together. What a difference, eh? Huge, huge difference. So I'm going to work fairly quickly. I'm going to cover everything up because and then you'll need a baby wipe. Pick up a speck of water in that. The gesso absorbs everything. And you can just see just a little bit of the green showing through, but how beautiful is that? Green and red makes a very muddy dark, and because this is being done as a layer, it's actually working to our advantage. Okay, baby wipe. And now you can basically choose to remove some pieces. I just want to basically wait until this is not wet anymore, but just a little bit damp, so I want to be able to get the distressed look. And just choose where I want to pull some stuff out. If you try to keep your hand not pushing into it, but just gliding over the top, what's going to be lifted up are the bumps. Can you see? No, probably not. No, you can't. The lumps and bumps, and this is touching just the tops. Like there's one here, one here, one here. Okay, like so. And that's a bit too much here. I can always come back and add more paint. Okay. And so now let's work with the alizarin crimson first. You're getting a little bit of color theory in here, not a lot. And then let's take Prussian blue. This is Prussian blue hue, which is an actual mix, and I will show you how to make it yourself. You don't have to buy a gazillion tubes of paint. You can, but I've got a set palette that if you take a class from me, you should have. I told you, phthalo blue. Any of the phthalo colors, I will get all over me. That's actually quite beautiful, though. Anytime I touch phthalo blue or phthalo green, it gets all over me. I do have a set palette, which I covered off in a video, one of the background videos. And palette knife. Okay. Okay. Reach. I hate doing this. I hate having to find stuff while I'm on camera. You guys have to pause, but it's take more time to stop the video. I'm gonna let this dry. And let me move this out of the way. I need a side table. I've got a painting that's sitting on the side here. A lioness that I'm working on, and she's drying. If you haven't done so already, make yourself up a color mixing book. Let's find a blank spot. Find a blank spot. Now this book is made of terra skin, so the feel of the pages will be a little bit different. And let's get close. I have to make sure I don't do any writing. This is upside down. Let's get a close-up. All right. Prussian blue. The actual Prussian blue apparently is fugitive. DecoArt has made a hue using phthalo blue, which is PB15, and black. Very dark, very, very dark, and I'll just use gesso. You should use white paint. Anytime you have something that's really, really dark, all you do is mix a little bit of white in it, see the true underlying color. It's a very cool blue, leans a little bit more towards the green. Okay, very, very dark. It's opaque. Looks almost black until you actually lay. This is a lot of the in the Imagine series journal that I have, where the paintings are all featured with dark blacks. Now dark blacks is funny, but you can get a black with green and red, blue and brown, and but darks. Prussian blue is a really good color to use. To make a similar Prussian blue, if you take phthalo blue and carbon black, okay, together, you will get Prussian blue. There you go. Mixing the colors, you can really vary. The only time I suggest not using a hue is when, because anytime you mix two colors together, they will never be as bright and intense as the original. For example, using an orange. I use Perignon orange and vermilion because they're single pigments, or a Perignon orange is a single pigment. But if I take red and yellow, well, there's so many different reds and so many different yellows, I will never get an orange as intense as Perignon orange. Okay, but when you get the phthalos in there, mega, mega, mega intense. You can see I could still add, I just contaminated my gesso, I could still add more white to this. And let's just grab this, and more white, and more white. But you can see how far I can go. So a bottle of phthalo blue will last you forever, okay? Will last you forever. But it's a beautiful, beautiful color to have, okay? So Prussian blue or phthalo blue and black. And I hope Mia doesn't come in the room. Now this is still a little bit damp. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to take some extender. So that was just a little color mixing. Oh, I can use either one, it doesn't really matter. And get a baby wipe ready. You can either dry brush this or you can actually paint it, and I'm going to start painting it first and then just see. Yeah, this is actually really pretty. What happens is between the red and the blue is that you're getting a slight green tint to it. Let me just back this up a little bit. I'm going to keep very little of the blue visible. More here because it'll frame everything. Oh, and dry just for a bit. And then I'm just touching, and then at this point now you have to rotate your baby wipe. And I actually could even not bother pushing. I'm just kind of draping this over, and it's just picking up. But you have to rotate, because all you're going to be doing if you don't rotate is you're just going to be smearing the paint around. And do this as to the point that however you want to do it. I want to free up a little bit of this here. I've gone down a bit to the gesso. The paint layer before was not dry. That's fine. Because now what I'm going to do is I glaze the crimson, and then again with a bit more transparent red iron oxide, it's going to get even a different color. This is layering. You're layering and layering and layering. Okay. And I especially like distressing the edges because those are the basically what breaks down in a book. And butterfly. I want to make sure the butterfly stays exposed. All right. And I don't need this anymore. But yeah, I tell you, phthalo blue and me, phthalo blue and phthalo green and me, we are not friends. You don't need a lot. Like I swear, a bottle of phthalo blue will last you, phthalo blue and phthalo green will last you forever. Seriously. Alizarin crimson. Oh, I already put that out there. Now I'm going to go to a different brush because that's got blue in it. And I'm going to need some extender. This is basically only going to wash over the butterfly. Then we're going to put transparent red iron oxide again around the edges, and we're going to be done with that. We're just going to wash this over the butterfly. You don't need a lot. Okay. And then wipe. And I'm just gonna, I'm not drying at this point. Now I'm just basically doing this because it's scrunching the edges. Like so. Kind of puts a glow on it. That was it. That's all we need the alizarin crimson for. And then back to the transparent red iron oxide. Okay, let me dry this first now.